Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Speak English Daily. I'm Emma, and today I want to tell you something before we even start. Today was a busy day. Not a bad day, not a stressful day, just busy. The kind of day where one thing follows another thing and you don't really stop until it's over. I teach English at the community center. Most days I have 2 or 3 classes. Today I had 4, plus a new student, plus a small problem with the printer, plus lunch, which I almost forgot to eat. Does that sound familiar? Maybe your job is different from mine. Maybe you work in a shop or a restaurant, or you drive, or you take care of children, or you do something I've never even tried. But I think busy days feel a little similar, no matter what the job is. There's a rhythm to them, a feeling of moving from one task to the next. Today, we're going to live through a day like that together. Not a perfect day, a real one with a few small problems and a few small wins, and a lot of ordinary moments in between. By the end, I think you'll know exactly how it felt. Ready? Let's start the day. Before we go, let's think about work for a moment. Every job has its own words, its own small phrases that people say again and again, every single day, without even noticing. At the community center, we say things like, "Do you have a minute? Can you help me with this? I'll be right there." These phrases are so common that they almost disappear, but they're some of the most useful sentences in the English language. If you work, or if you've worked before, anywhere, in any job, you already know phrases like these, maybe in your own language first, and maybe, slowly, in English too. Let's warm up our voices. Say these words with me. Relax. Don't think too hard. Schedule. Busy. Class. Help. Minute. Finish. Tomorrow. Good. Now a little longer. I have a busy day today. Do you have a minute? I'll be right there. Can you help me with this? It's almost lunchtime. Same time tomorrow. Perfect. Your mouth is ready. Let's start the morning. It's Monday morning, and I'm walking to the community center with a travel mug of coffee in one hand and my bag over my shoulder. The streets are busy at this hour. People heading to work, a delivery truck parked half on the sidewalk, someone sweeping the steps outside a shop. I take a sip of my coffee as I walk. It's still hot. I pass the bus stop, where a small crowd is waiting. More people than usual, it seems, all checking their phones or looking down the street for the bus. Someone is reading something out loud to a friend, both of them laughing. A woman with a young child is crouched down, tying the child's shoe, while the child looks around at everything, except their own foot. The community center is a long brick building with big windows and a wide set of steps at the front. I've worked here for almost 3 years now. I know this building well. Which door sticks a little, which light switch in the hallway doesn't work, which classroom gets too warm in the afternoon. I push open the front door. A blast of warm air greets me. The heating in this building is either off or too high, never quite right in between. Today, it's too high. I unzip my jacket halfway as I step inside. Inside, the lobby is already busy. A few students from the morning beginner class are sitting on the benches, waiting for their room to open. Someone is filling out a form at the front desk. The smell of coffee from the small kitchen drifts down the hallway. I walk to the front desk, where Anna is sorting through a stack of papers. Anna has worked at the front desk for even longer than I've been here. She knows everyone, every student, every teacher, every schedule change. If you need to know anything about this building, Anna knows it. "Morning, Emma," she says, without looking up from the papers. "Good morning. How's your morning going?" "Busy," Anna says, finally looking up. She smiles, but it's a tired smile. "Very busy." "You too, I think." "What do you mean?" She slides a printed schedule across the desk toward me. "Check your afternoon. You've got an extra class today. Someone called in sick and they moved the class to you." I look at the schedule. Usually Monday is 2 classes, morning and early afternoon. Today, there's a third one squeezed in right after lunch. 4 classes today, I say? 4 classes, Anna agrees. "Sorry, I know it's a lot." "It's okay," I say. And it really is. A little surprising, but okay. "Thanks for letting me know early." There's also a new student starting this morning. His name is Carlos. First day. I told him to go straight to your room. Got it. Thank you, Anna. I fold the schedule and put it in my bag. 4 classes, a new student. Okay. I take another sip of coffee. It's still warm, just barely, and head down the hallway toward my classroom. On the way, I pass the notice board outside the staff room. Someone has pinned up a new flyer. A community potluck dinner. Next month, everyone welcome. Bring a dish from home if you'd like. I read it as I walk past. I make a mental note to mention it to my afternoon classes. Things like that, small community events, are good for students. A reason to talk to people outside the classroom. A reason to cook something and share it. The hallway is quiet at this hour, except for the sound of my shoes on the floor and somewhere a vacuum cleaner running in another room. Morning light comes through the tall windows along one side, falling in long, pale rectangles across the floor. I step over one of the rectangles, then through another. 4 classes. Okay, I can do this. My classroom is at the end of the hallway, room 14. I unlock the door with the key on my lanyard and push it open. The room smells faintly of dry erase marker and the particular smell that classrooms have. Paper and a little bit of floor cleaner, and something else that I've never been able to name, but that means simply school. The chairs are still stacked against the wall from last Friday, when the room was used for something else over the weekend. I start moving them, one at a time, into a circle, the way I always set up for this class. Beginner conversation classes work better in a circle. Everyone can see everyone. No one is hidden in a back row. The chairs are the stackable kind, gray plastic with metal legs, and they're heavier than they look. By the 5th one, I've settled into a rhythm. Lift, carry, set down, angle slightly toward the center. The legs scrape softly against the floor tiles as I adjust each one. I count as I go. 10 chairs. Then I add an 11th for Carlos. Once the chairs are arranged, I go to the whiteboard. There's still some writing on it from Friday. A half-erased list of vocabulary words. I wipe it clean with the eraser, in long, careful strokes, until the board is a blank pale green again. The marker tray below the board holds a small collection of markers in various states of usefulness. A green one that barely works anymore, a black one that's perfect, 2 blue ones, and a red one I save for corrections during pair work when students want me to check their writing. I pick up a marker, blue, my favorite for writing the date, and write today's date in the top corner. Monday, June 15th. Underneath, I write the warm-up question for today. I always start class with a simple question, something everyone can answer, no matter their level. Something that gets people talking right away, before they have time to feel nervous. Today's question, what did you do this weekend? Simple, familiar. Everyone has an answer, even if it's just 1 or 2 words. I go to my desk in the corner and pull out my lesson notes. A folder with today's plan, a few handouts, and a small stack of vocabulary cards I made last week. I flip through the folder quickly, just to remind myself of the order of things. Warm up, review, new vocabulary, practice in pairs, wrap up. I glance at the clock on the wall. 8:52. Class starts at 9. I fill a small jug with water from the cooler in the hallway and bring it back to my desk, along with a stack of paper cups. Some mornings, students arrive thirsty, especially the ones who walk a long way to get here. I also pull out the small box of vocabulary cards from my bag and flip through them quickly. Today's set words related to weekends and free time. Relax, visit, cook, watch, walk, rest. I've used this set before, but it always works well with the warm-up question. I set the box on the corner of my desk, ready. I take one more look around the room. Chairs in a circle, whiteboard ready, water filled, folder open. Vocabulary cards within reach. Good, I'm ready. I hear voices in the hallway. The first students are arriving. The first person through the door is Yuki. Yuki has been in this class for about 7 months now. When she started, she could say maybe 10 words in English. Now she talks. Not perfectly, but she talks easily about all kinds of things. "Good morning, Teacher Emma," she says, taking off her jacket and hanging it on the back of a chair. "Good morning, Yuki. How was your weekend?" "Good, I will tell you in class," she says, smiling. It is a good story for the warm-up question. I laugh. I can't wait. More students arrive over the next few minutes. Minjun, who waves and says good morning in his usual quiet way. 2 sisters, Flor and Lupe, who always sit next to each other and arrive together. An older man named Mr. Petrov, who takes the same seat every single class, 3rd from the door, and would probably be confused if anyone sat there instead. Mr. Petrov nods at me as he sits down, the way he does every morning, a small formal nod, like greeting a colleague at a meeting. He takes a folded newspaper out of his coat pocket and sets it on his lap, even though he won't read it during class. It's just something he carries. Flor and Lupe are already talking quietly to each other in Spanish. Something about one of their children's school schedules. They switch to English the moment they notice me looking over, a habit most of my longtime students have picked up, almost without thinking about it now. The room fills with quiet morning sounds, chairs shifting, bags being set down, someone unwrapping a piece of candy, someone else saying good morning in 3 different languages within about 10 seconds. Then the door opens again, slowly, and a man I don't recognize steps halfway into the room. He's holding a small piece of paper. I can see from here it's a printed slip, the kind Anna gives to new students with the room number written on it. He looks at the paper. He looks at the room. He looks at the paper again. "Sorry," he says. "Sorry. Is this room 14? Yes, this is room 14, I say, walking toward him. Are you Carlos? His shoulders relax just slightly. Yes, Carlos. Sorry, He looks down at the paper again. I went to the wrong room first. Room 40, not 14. Sorry. That happens to everyone, I say. This building is confusing on the first day. You're in the right place now. Sorry I am late. You're not late, I say. Class hasn't started yet. You're right on time. He nods, but I can tell he's still a little embarrassed. The wrong room, the apologies, walking into a room full of people who are already sitting down. I've seen this feeling on a lot of first-day faces. It's a particular kind of nervousness, not about the English exactly, but about everything around the English. The building, the room, where to sit, what to do with your coat. Come in, I say. There's a seat right here, next to Yuki. I point to the empty 11th chair, the one I added this morning. Carlos walks over slowly and sits down. He keeps his jacket on and his bag on his lap, the way people do when they're not sure if they're staying. You're okay, I tell him gently. Take your time. He looks up at me. Something in his face softens, just a little. Thank you, he says quietly. Yuki turns to him with a warm smile. Hello, I am Yuki, from Japan. Where are you from? Colombia, Carlos says. I am from Colombia. Welcome to the class, Carlos, Yuki says, like she's been doing this for years, which, in a way, she has. New students arrive all the time, and the ones who've been here longer often welcome them before I even get the chance. Carlos looks around at the circle of chairs, at the whiteboard, at the water jug on my desk. He sets his bag down on the floor, finally. He takes off his jacket and folds it over his lap instead of putting it on the chair behind him. A small middle step, not quite ready to let go of it completely, but no longer holding it against his chest either. Small movements, but they mean something. I walk to the front of the room. Okay, everyone, good morning. Let's begin. We start with the warm-up question on the board. What did you do this weekend? I go around the circle. Mr. Petrov says simply, I rested, and nods, as if that fully covers it. Minjun talks about visiting his sister. Flor and Lupe both mention a birthday party for their nephew. They tell it together, finishing each other's sentences, occasionally disagreeing about a small detail. Was it Saturday or Sunday? Before moving on. Then it's Yuki's turn. My cat, she begins, went on the balcony, and then could not come back. She was stuck on the railing. Everyone leans in slightly. How long? Minjun asks. 2 hours. I called her name. I gave her food she did not want. Finally, my neighbor came with a ladder. The story has several more steps than I expected. The ladder, the neighbor's nervous dog barking the whole time, the cat finally jumping down on her own right when the neighbor reached the top step, and by the end, the whole room is laughing, including Carlos, who has unfolded his jacket from his lap and set it properly on the chair behind him. Class goes well. The warm-up question gets everyone talking. Yuki's weekend story turns out to be about her cat getting stuck on a balcony railing, which takes much longer to tell than I expected. But everyone is laughing by the end, including Carlos, who is starting to relax. By the second half of class, I want to give everyone a handout, a short reading with some new vocabulary, something to take home and look at again later. I have the original in my folder. I just need 10 copies. Okay, everyone, work with your partner on exercise 2. I'll be right back. I slip out of the room with the original handout and walk down the hallway to the small copy room. Really just a closet with a printer, a paper cutter, and shelves of supplies. I put the paper in the feeder, press the button for 10 copies, and wait. The printer makes a sound, not the normal sound, a different sound, a kind of click, 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 and then it stops completely. A small red light starts blinking on the front panel. I open the little door on the side, the way I've seen people do before. I look inside. There's a piece of paper crumpled up somewhere in the middle of the machine, stuck at an angle. I try to pull it gently. It doesn't move. I try again, a little more firmly. Still nothing. I crouch down to get a better angle, looking into the dark gap where the paper is wedged. Somewhere inside, a small fan is still running, a low whirring sound, even though the rest of the machine has stopped. I press the button on the front panel that I think might mean continue. Nothing happens. I press the one that looks like it might mean cancel. The red light just blinks faster. This is not my area of expertise. I poke my head out of the copy room. Down the hallway, I see Mr. Hassan, one of the other teachers, walking toward the staff room with a stack of folders. Mr. Hassan, sorry, do you have a minute? Can you help me with this? He comes over, sets his folders down on the shelf, and looks at the printer. Paper, Jan? I think so. I tried to pull it out, but it won't move. He opens a different door on the printer, one I hadn't noticed, and reaches in carefully. After a moment, he pulls out the crumpled piece of paper in one smooth motion. There you go, he says, holding up the paper like a small trophy. Thank you so much. It does this sometimes when the paper tray is too full, he says, closing both doors and giving the printer a small pat, almost like he's reassuring it. Try again. I press the button again. The printer hums, then starts printing. 1 page, 2 pages, 3. The warm, slightly papery smell of fresh copies filling the small room. Perfect, I say. Thank you again. No problem, he says, picking his folders back up. Long day ahead? 4 classes today. He winces sympathetically. Good luck. I gather the 10 warm copies, still slightly warm from the printer, and head back to my classroom, where 11 people are, hopefully, still working on exercise 2. They are, mostly. Carlos and Yuki are bent over the handout together, Yuki pointing at something and explaining quietly in a mix of English and what I think might be a little Japanese, just for herself, working out the words before saying them out loud. I hand out the copies and we finish the lesson, vocabulary review, a short pair activity, and a quick wrap-up where everyone says one new word they learned today. Carlos says his word last. Jam, he says. Paper jam. The room laughs. They'd heard about the printer from someone in the hallway, apparently. And Carlos smiles too. For the first time today. A real smile. Class ends. Students gather their things, say goodbye, head out into the hallway. My second class of the day, the early intermediate group, starts in 15 minutes in this same room. I have just enough time to refill the water jug and erase the whiteboard before they arrive. That class goes quickly. A grammar review, a listening exercise, a short discussion about plans for the upcoming long weekend. By the time it ends, my stomach is reminding me that breakfast was hours ago. By the time my second class ends, it's almost 1 o'clock, and I have exactly 40 minutes before the extra afternoon class begins. The staff room is small, a round table, a few mismatched chairs, a refrigerator that hums a little too loudly, and a counter with a kettle and a coffee maker that has seen better days. When I walk in, 2 other teachers are already there, eating quickly and talking about a field trip they're planning for one of the higher-level classes. And then the museum said, "We need to book 2 weeks in advance." So, 2 weeks? We were going to go next week. I know. I'm calling them back. I take my sandwich out of my bed, turkey and cheese, made quickly this morning before I left the apartment, and sit down at the table. I unwrap it slowly. The bread is a little dry, but I don't mind. Food is food, especially on a day like today. While I eat, I pull out my folder again. Not for this afternoon's classes, those are ready, but for next week. Mondays like this, busy, full, back-to-back, are actually good days to get ahead, in a strange way. If I wait until I have a quiet day, I might wait forever. So instead, I eat with one hand and sort papers with the other. I have a stack of handouts for next week's lesson, a reading about grocery shopping, with some vocabulary I want students to practice. I count out copies for each class. 10 for the morning group, 12 for the early afternoon, 8 for the evening class, which is smaller. I make a small note on a sticky note. Need 5 more copies. Check paper supply. I stick it to the front of the folder, where I'll see it tomorrow. I take a bite of my sandwich. Then I open my laptop just for a moment and check my email. There's a message from a student in my evening class. Someone who couldn't make it last week and wants to know what she missed. I type back quickly. "Hi, Marta. No problem at all. We did a reading about transportation. I'll bring you a copy of the handout tonight. See you in class." I send it, close the laptop, and finish my sandwich. One of the other teachers gets up to refill the kettle. "Anyone want tea?" "I'm okay, thanks," I say. "I have a class in," I check the clock on the wall, 20 minutes. 4 classes today, right? Anna told me. 4 classes, I confirm. "Good luck," she says, the same way Mr. Hassan did earlier, like it's become the official phrase of the day. I gather my things, folder, water bottle, the sticky notes still attached, and head back down the hallway. On the way, I check the room number on the schedule again, just to be sure. Room 22. I've genuinely never taught in there before, in 3 years. I stop by my own classroom first, just for a moment, to grab a spare set of vocabulary cards from my desk drawer, in case the substitute teacher's materials aren't where I expect them to be. Better to have a backup. 20 minutes to find a room I've never taught in before, room 22, for a class I didn't know I had until this morning. Okay, room 22. Let's go. Room 22 turns out to be easy enough to find, just down the hall and around the corner. A room I've passed 100 times without ever going inside. It's smaller than my usual room, with desks instead of a big table, but it's fine. I move a few desks together quickly before students arrive. The room has a different smell from mine. Newer carpet, maybe, or a different cleaning product. The whiteboard here is slightly yellowed at the edges, the kind that's been wiped down thousands of times over many years. I write today's date and the warm-up question in the open space in the middle. Students start arriving, 12 in total, more than I expected. A few of them look at me with the slightly confused expression of people who were told their regular teacher was out and aren't quite sure what to expect from a substitute. This extra class is a mixed-level group. Some students I recognize from other classes, a few new faces. I introduce myself, write the date on the whiteboard, and we start with the same kind of warm-up question I always use. What's one thing you did today? The answers come slowly at first. A few students are shy, this being their first time with me. Someone says, I came here. Someone else says, I drank coffee. Small answers, true answers. I write a few of them on the board, just as they're said, without correcting anything yet, just to show that what they said was heard and was enough. Slowly the room warms up. And then I notice something. Yuki is in this class too. It's a class she sometimes attends in addition to her regular morning one when her work schedule allows it. She's sitting near the back, and she has her hand half raised, the way people do when they're not sure if they should speak yet. Yuki, did you want to share something? She nods and sits up a little straighter. Yes, today, this morning, before class, I talked to my neighbor. A few students nod, encouraging her to continue. She was getting her mail. I said, Good morning. Nice weather today. And she said, Yes, finally, after the rain. And then, Yuki pauses, smiling at the memory. And then we talked for maybe 5 minutes about the weather, about her dog. That's wonderful, Yuki, I say. She understood me, Yuki says. All of it. And I understood her too. There's a small, quiet moment in the room. A few of the students smile. One of the new students, a man near the front who hasn't said much yet, nods slowly, like he's thinking about something. That's exactly it, I say, looking around the room. That's what all of this is for. Not perfect grammar, not big speeches, just a conversation, 5 minutes, about the weather, about a dog. It doesn't sound like much, Yuki says. It's not much, I say. It's everything. It's a relationship with your neighbor. That's huge. Yuki smiles, a little shy now, but pleased. The man near the front raises his hand slightly. Can I tell something too? Small thing? Of course. This morning I order coffee in English. The lady, she said something I didn't understand. But I said, sorry, again please. And she said it again, slow. And I understood. And I said, thank you. He shrugs like it's a small thing, but he's smiling too. That's exactly the same thing, I tell him. Asking someone to repeat, that's a skill. A real one. You used it today, and it worked. Encouraged, a woman near the window speaks up too, a little quieter than the others. Can I say something? Maybe small also. Please. My son, he has school today, parent meeting. The teacher talked fast. I understood, maybe half. But I asked one question about homework, and teacher answered, slow. I understood the answer. How did that feel, I ask. She thinks for a moment, choosing her words carefully. Scary, before, after, okay. A few people laugh gently, not at her, but with her, recognizing the feeling exactly. Scary before, good after, I repeat, writing it on the whiteboard. I think that's true for almost everything in English, maybe in life too. This is the part of my job that doesn't show up on the schedule. The extra class I didn't plan for, the unfamiliar room, the printer that jammed. None of that is in this moment. Just a room full of people, each of them carrying a small story about a real conversation they had, in English, in their actual life outside this building. This is the part that makes the busy days worth it. We move on to the lesson, but I keep that feeling with me for the rest of the class. The rest of room 22 goes smoothly. A vocabulary exercise about daily routines. A pair activity where students interview each other about their weekly schedules. By the end, even the quietest students from the warm-up are talking in pairs, comparing notes, occasionally laughing at something. When the class ends, a few students linger near the door, not quite ready to leave. The man who ordered coffee tells me, on his way out, that he's going to try ordering something different tomorrow. More words, he says, smiling. Practice. Good idea, I tell him. Let me know how it goes. By the time my last class ends, it's almost 5 o'clock, and the light coming through the hallway windows has changed. Longer now, more golden, slanting across the floor at a different angle than it did this morning. I go back to room 14 to tidy up, push the chairs back against the wall, wipe down the whiteboard, gather the leftover handouts into my folder. Carlos's chair is the last one I move. I think about his face this morning, nervous, apologizing, holding his bag on his lap. By the end of class, he was talking. Not a lot, but some. A good first day, I think, for him and for me. I lock the classroom door and walk down the hallway toward the front desk. The lobby is quieter now. Just a few people picking up flyers from the rack near the door. Someone signing out at the front desk. Anna is still there, though she looks like she's getting ready to leave. Her coat is over the back of her chair, and she's putting some papers into a drawer. There she is, Anna says, looking up. 4 classes. You survived. I survived, I agree. Carlos find his way okay? After this morning? He did. By the end of class, he was talking with Yuki and Minjun about where everyone's from. He even made a small joke about the printer, actually. Apparently, word travels fast in this building. Anna laughs. Word always travels fast here. Faster than the printer, that's for sure. Long day, huh? Long day, I say, but actually a good one. There was a moment in the extra class. One of my students, well, she's not really my student, she just comes to that class sometimes too. She told everyone about a conversation she had with her neighbor this morning. About the weather, about a dog. That sounds nice, Anna says, smiling. It was. It made the whole day feel, I think for a second, looking for the right word, worth it. Even with the printer and the extra class and everything. Anna nods, like she understands exactly what I mean. And she probably does. She's been at this front desk long enough to have seen 1,000 days like this one, from a different angle. You heading out? She asks. In a minute. I just want to grab a coffee from the kitchen before I go. For the walk home. Good idea, Anna says, standing up and putting on her coat. I'm heading out now. Same time tomorrow? Same time tomorrow, I say. Have a good evening, Anna. You too, Emma. Get some rest. She waves and heads toward the door, her bag over her shoulder. I watch her go, then walk down the hallway to the small kitchen, where there's still a little coffee left in the pot from the afternoon. I pour the last of it into my travel mug, not much, but enough, and head toward the front door myself. Outside, the evening air is warm and a little golden. I take a breath. Long day. Good day. By the time I get home, it's almost 6. I take off my shoes by the door, hang my bag on the hook, and go straight to the kitchen to make myself something simple. Just rice and vegetables, nothing complicated. While it cooks, I sit at the small table with my folder open in front of me. There's a stack of registration forms Anna gave me before I left. New student paperwork that needs to be filed, including one for Carlos. I flip to his form and look at it properly for the first time. Carlos Mendoza, from Bogota, Colombia. First language, Spanish. Reason for class, I want to talk to people at my new job. I work in a warehouse. Many coworkers speak English. I read that last line twice. I think about Carlos this morning, holding the wrong room number, apologizing for being early, sitting with his bag on his lap. And then by the end of class, talking just a little with Yuki and Minjun about where they're all from. I make a small note on a sticky note and attach it to his form. Check in with Carlos next week. See how the warehouse conversations are going. The rice is almost done. I get up, stir it, turn down the heat. The kitchen smells warm and a little starchy. Comforting, the smell of dinner, almost ready. Back at the table, I sort through the rest of the registration forms. 5 new students starting across different classes this week, not just Carlos. I separate them by class and time, stapling each one to the attendance sheet where it belongs. A small administrative task, but one that makes tomorrow morning easier. No fumbling through a stack of papers while students are arriving. I pull out my lesson folder for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a normal day, 2 classes, not 4, thankfully. I look at my notes from today's classes, thinking about what worked and what I should adjust. For the morning class, I write a new warm-up question on a sticky note, ready to copy onto the whiteboard tomorrow. What is something that made you smile today? I think about Yuki's neighbor, about the man who asked the coffee shop lady to repeat herself, about Carlos sitting down, finally, with his bag on the floor instead of his lap. Small things, but real ones. The rice is ready. I turn off the stove and make myself a plate, then bring it back to the table. I eat slowly, looking over tomorrow's lesson plan one more time, just to make sure everything is in order. Vocabulary cards, ready. Handouts, enough for tomorrow, though I still need those 5 extra copies for next week. I add that to tomorrow's list, right under the sticky note about Carlos. My phone buzzes once. A message in the group chat for the teachers from Mr. Asan. Printer fixed properly now. Called maintenance. Should be good for a while. I type back a quick thumbs up and set the phone face down. Outside, the evening light is fading slowly. A car passes. Somewhere down the street, someone is calling a dog in for the night. I close the folder and set it by my bag, ready for tomorrow morning. I line up the registration forms neatly on top. Carlos's on top of the pile, his sticky note visible. 4 classes today. A jammed printer, a new student named Carlos from Bogota who works in a warehouse and wants to talk to his coworkers. A neighbor and a dog and 5 minutes of conversation that meant everything to Yuki. Tomorrow, 2 classes, a new warm-up question, and 5 more copies to make. I finish my dinner, wash the plate, and get ready for bed. Tired in the good way. The way that comes from a day that was full and useful and, in its own busy way, exactly right. Before we finish today, let's practice a few phrases together. These are phrases for talking about work, tasks, and busy days. You've heard all of them today. Now, let's say them out loud. Pattern 1, I have to. We use this for tasks, things we need to do, at work, at home, anywhere. Say it with me. I have to check the schedule. I have to make copies. I have to set up the room. I have to help a student. I have to take a break. I have to finish this today. I have to send an email. I have to get ready for tomorrow. Good. Keep going. Pattern 2. Can you help me? This is one of the most useful phrases in any job. Asking for help is not a weakness, it's a skill. Can you help me with this? Can you help me find it? Can you help me carry this? Can you help me understand? Can you help me fix this? Can you help me for a minute? Perfect. One more pattern. Pattern 3. It was a day for looking back at the end of the day. Simple, honest. It was a busy day. It was a long day. It was a good day. It was a tiring day. It was a productive day. It was a full day. It was a good day, actually. That's 3 patterns. I have to. Can you help me? It was a day. These phrases work in any job, anywhere. Office, shop, warehouse, classroom, it doesn't matter. The words are yours now. Now it's your turn. Not to repeat, just to speak about your own day, your own work in your own words. There is no right answer. Whatever comes out, that is your English. It counts. Let's try. Think about your job or a job you've had before. What do you usually do during the day? What tasks do you have? Try starting with, I have to. Take your time, use the words you remember. Good. One more. Was there ever a day that felt very busy, but also good at the end? What happened? What made it good, even though it was busy? Take your time. Whatever comes out, that is your English. That's it. Whatever you said, it's real. It's yours. Today we lived through a busy day together. We arrived to a fuller schedule than expected. We set up a classroom. We met a new student, nervous, apologizing, finding his seat. We dealt with a jammed printer. We ate lunch quickly while getting ahead on next week. We taught an extra class and heard a story about a neighbor and a dog that made the whole day worth it. We said goodbye to a colleague. We walked home in golden evening light. And at home, we got ready for tomorrow. Busy days happen in every job, in every life. But busy doesn't have to mean bad. Sometimes, in the middle of all that busyness, there's a small moment, a conversation, a connection, a little bit of progress that makes the whole day make sense. I'll be back next Monday. Same time, a new day, a new world. Until then, take care of yourself. Speak when you can. And if today was a busy day for you too, well, you made it through. That counts. This is Emma from Speak English Daily. Good evening, wherever you are.